You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
You can put it on the board. Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all those giant cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes, best in the business I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever had as well. Same thing with those half-pound massive burgers. Prime Wagyu, USDA Prime Wagyu, not choice, Prime, USDA Prime. I say it because, folks, if you've never had it, it is amazing. And these aren't Holstein cows, if you know what I mean. If you don't know what Holstein cows are, you better take a look, because that's most of what you see in your grocery stores. These are all prime. Anyway, folks, check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call to find out what's for dinner at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! Not a big welcome in, everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates. All of our independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television, thanks for joining us, as well as everybody else on Hotel TV Plus. That's in about 500,000 rooms, by the way, folks. Plus everybody else streaming on your favorite social media platform, podcast platform, etc., etc. You know, folks, the Super Bowl is come and gone, and there were some things that happened that some people can't explain, and some people cannot explain. Some people want to exist, some people don't want to exist. And you know, at the end of the day, we're all here for what? Entertainment. That's what we want. We want entertainment. We want great entertainment on the field with our athletes, and we also want fair officiating, and we also want fair representation too. And I'm all for all of the above, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, there was a singing of the national anthem by Reba McEntire, right? Nice round of applause for Reba McEntire. And even Post Malone did America the Beautiful. Now, you have to ask yourself, would there be any controversy around any sort of pregame festivities? Well, it just so happens that, according to Fox News and the Associated Press, the Super Bowl had a Black national anthem performed by Andrea Day. She performed, quote, "Lift Every Voice and Sing," close quote, known as the Black national anthem, before, of course, Super Bowl 58 at Allegiant Stadium right here in fabulous Las Vegas on Super Bowl Sunday. Now, Andra Day was asked to sing the song last month as part of the NFL's pregame festivities. And additionally, as I said, of course, Reba sang the national anthem, Post Malone did the America the Beautiful. But as Super Bowl Sunday arrived and Day sang, NFL fans on social media expressed criticism for the league's having the Black national anthem performed, and it started early in the day and continued. Again, folks, this is by Fox News, and the Associated Press was a contributor on this. Now, Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida wrote on X, otherwise known as Twitter, otherwise known as X, I suppose, about a conversation he had had with his wife about why they weren't going to watch the Super Bowl. And he wrote, quote, "They're desecrating America's national anthem by playing something called the, quote, Black national anthem," close quote, close all those quotes. Now, Representative Mike Loychik, a lawmaker in the state of Ohio, in Ohio's House of Representatives criticized the NFL and wrote on X, or Twitter, or X, quote, "There's no such thing as a black national anthem. We are all Americans, united by our great and beautiful Star-Spangled Banner. The Super Bowl is supposed to bring us all together. It's a disgrace that the NFL decided to push the politics of racial division again," close quote. Again, this is all according to Fox News and the Associated Press, who contributed to this. Now, C.J. Pearson also wrote on X, quote, "Before tonight's Super Bowl, as a young black man and proud American, let me make myself clear. There is only one national anthem, as there is only one United States of America. And it's for everyone, white, black, yellow, and even maroon. The left's agenda of division isn't just needless, it's exhausting," close quote. Now, that was by C.J. Pearson. Now, one more quote was by Graham Allen. And Graham Allen wrote, quote, "No such thing as a black national anthem. The end," close quote. Mind you, folks, this was by Fox News and contributed by the Associated Press. So, now Day performed at the Recording Academy's Black Music Collective event in Los Angeles and at Clive Davis's pre-Grammy Gala with Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight, Dionne Warwick, Keisha Cole, and Frederick Yonnet. And she told the Associated Press, quote, "If I'm here, I'm of the mindset that I'm called to be here. It's a huge moment, and I don't want to just do well, but really want people to encounter the spirit," close quote. Now, Day told CBS Mornings that she was hit with nerves as she was rehearsing the song. She hoped that the song would allow people to, quote, "share in a really, really beautiful spiritual moment together," close quote. And the NFL started to play the Black National Anthem in 2020, and during that season, following the whole George Floyd situation, which people decided it was a good idea to burn cities and steal things that didn't belong to them, while the police and the government seemed to turn a blind eye and give them a pass for doing so. Which, of course, that was a tremendous embarrassment for our great country. You know, folks, what I don't understand is if somebody wants to celebrate and sing a song, that's fine. Now, labeling it this anthem or that anthem or whatever the heck it is. Look, I'm not so sure that I have an opinion on that. People can celebrate however they want to, but I think if you try to force feed it upon people and try to implement it, kind of like, let's go back to that movie, Mean Girls. Now, Mean Girls was just one of those movies that it was kind of funny. I don't know whether it's a chick flick or whatever. Sorry, guys and ladies out there, if you get offended by that, too bad. But what I'm wondering is if this alleged anthem is trying to be instituted in the same way that the Toaster Strudel girl had tried to make the word fetch a thing. So the whole fetch thing, and I remember the leader of the Mean Girls, who was Rachel McAdams, just a tremendous actress. Wow. Anyway, so she was telling the Toaster Strudel girl, hey, you know, stop saying fetch. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. So basically, like, hey, that's cool. It's fetch or some crap like that. So the bigger question is this anthem going to really take hold? Is it going to, I don't know, is it going to capture people from all walks of life? That's the bigger question. Now, whether it does or whether it doesn't, I think it's a celebration that people have, and I'm okay with the celebration that people have. But I think trying to impose it upon other people's will is not necessarily the way to go about it. Because if you think about the way that advertising works, now advertising works, generally speaking, by repetition. So if this is not an advertisement campaign, so to say, or they're trying to use this sort of marketing is what I'm trying to say here. If they're trying to use that kind of marketing, wouldn't it seem reasonable to, instead of placing it before the national anthem or this or that, trying to institute it that way, maybe to have it become a little bit more of a popular, I guess, song or anthem or whatever you want to call it, a popular song in some other means prior to try to institute it in something else. Now, the reason I say that is because we think of certain songs and certain things that these songs make you feel. When you hear a particular song at a particular time, it may make you feel a particular thing. So, for example, you may hear Jingle Bells and you'll think of Christmas time. Now, of course, that's maybe an unofficial sort of, an unofficial anthem, so to say, of Christmas. But the point is, folks, if you're going to try to make this thing happen, being this anthem, this alleged black national anthem, which actually has a word, or better yet, it has a title, and it's called Lift Every Voice and Sing. I think that's a great title. In fact, we'll give it a nice round of applause. I'm just wondering, is there not a better way to get that out to the people so everybody embraces it and embraces the message within, rather than trying to put it in a sensitive time right before the Star-Spangled Banner, which is, our country's theme song. And some people allege, well, hey, it's racist, or this, that, and the other. Whatever. Everybody's going to have their opinion, and opinions are, everybody has one of those. So ultimately, I would only like to say, let's see this maybe instituted in a different way, so maybe people could get their own opinion of it, where they're not forced to judge it in such a setting that it precedes the national anthem in the first place. Nonetheless, folks, we're going to be back here with some more Super Bowl chaos and mayhem in just a few moments, right here on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thanks, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, this segment is brought to you by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, our former guests, our former shows, which are all of our, well, those recorded shows are available in their entirety. I was going to say they're all of our uncut shows, but I can't say they're uncut because, well, that would imply that they're edited. But really, these shows are not edited, only bookended for time to make sure that we're in that 59-minute and 50-second format, because that's what real TV and radio shows are. Anyway, folks, make sure you check out our partners page as well. The partners, lots of great partners, including the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. That's csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! And a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over on Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And welcome in to everybody that may be listening in Southern California, all the way up to Seattle on our different affiliates: Las Vegas, Phoenix, Chicago, Denver, New York City, Boston, everywhere, folks. Even down in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Been with us for a long time over there. And thanks, of course, nice special round of applause for them. And for WAUD over in Auburn, Alabama. That's home of the Atlanta Braves, which, of course, we have. Pitchers and catchers have just reported to spring training. We're going to get into a little bit of that a little bit later in the show. So thanks for joining us over there on WAUD, as well as all of our other stations from coast to coast and all of our other platforms such as Facebook and X and Instagram, etc. Folks, we're everywhere. You can't get away from us, even the Mars rover, if you know what I mean. All right. So back with more Super Bowl. How about this one? No, we saw an overtime game. Look, I'm not going to start chopping it up on the game and all the other intricacies. You've already been talked to death about that by everybody else. But the one thing that even the players and the fans were both scratching their heads about was, of course, what? The actual Super Bowl overtime rules. I mean, let's face it. The rules were a little chaotic to some because they were unknown, but they were actually quite clear to the referees. Now, look, as the clock hit triple zeros in regulation, during the Super Bowl, the questions flew across hundreds of thousands of bars, dens, hangouts, and apparently at least one sideline. How does overtime work in the Super Bowl? It's sudden death, right? Both teams get the ball at the 25, right? If the first team scores a touchdown, it's over, right? Is that right? Wrong! That's not right. Okay, so the NFL's postseason rules are simple enough in theory. Each team gets a chance to possess the ball, one way or another. It's reasonable, and it's a reasonable solution, usually bringing in all three phases of the game, right? Offense, defense, special teams. And it's just the execution of those rules that gets a little bit dicey, particularly when you add the nerves of the Super Bowl and a ticking clock that honestly doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot in the grand scheme of things. But the NFL's format, which combined two entirely different rosters, as we know, motivations and gameplay endeavors into a single team, doesn't allow for the clean, efficient overtime solution of most other sports. Most other sports involve the same players on both offense and defense, but a sudden death option in football effectively sidelines half of each team. Now, from the start of the NFL Super Bowl era right up through 2011, the overtime rules were simple. The team that scored first won the game. Touchdown, field goal, safety, whatever. That certainly ended overtimes quickly, but the effect was that the team that won the coin toss had a few first downs or so to get into game-winning position for a field goal and basically called it a day. Now, starting 12 years ago, the team that won the toss could end the game with a touchdown, but a field goal or no score at all gave the ball to the opponent who had one possession to tie or win the game. And of course, 10 years later, beginning with the 2022 season, the NFL instituted a rule that gave both teams the ball at least once, regardless of what points were scored to start. The only exception, a defensive score. For example, a safety, pick six, scoop and score, something like this. On the offense's first drive, that would actually end the game. Now, this is where the NFL gets a little questionable. Sudden death is so much easier to understand for the average fan. Score and you win. End of story. The list of conditionals attached to the NFL rules, like amendments to legislation, turns overtime into a series of bureaucratic checkpoints. Navigate them properly and you'll get yourself a brand new shiny trophy, even if you leave a few confused fans and opponents scratching their heads. Naturally, Kansas City had benefited from both recent overtime formats. 2 years ago in the instant classic 13 seconds AFC divisional round against the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City scored the first, and that was it, in overtime. Notched a walk-off win, and that was remarkably unfair. I watched that one, just scratched my head and say, Buffalo should have at least had a chance to possess the ball. Just not right. Nonetheless, on Sunday in the Super Bowl, Kansas City, which would have lost the game if San Francisco had scored a touchdown under the pre-2022 rules, and would have lost outright under the pre-2012 rules, turned its sliver of opportunity into a third title in 5 years. And good for them. No applause, just good for them. Even before San Francisco ran its first play in overtime, the second guessing of head coach Kyle Shanahan's decision to take the ball first began. Shanahan put the Niners at a disadvantage by giving the Chiefs the second chance, or better yet, giving them a chance by kicking a field goal. Not only that, Shanahan apparently didn't communicate to his players the strategy and methodology for overtime. Several 49er players conceded that they didn't know the exact playoff rules, with one saying he learned them from reading a display on the Allegiant Stadium screen. Yeah, imagine that. I don't know the rules, so let's just go ahead and read them. Anyway, it's one thing for friends to be confused about how a game should go. It's another entirely very different argument when you're talking about the players on the field. For the record, Hardman, who caught the game-winning touchdown for the Chiefs, wasn't even aware he just won the Super Bowl either. Now, of course, the clock is mostly a sideshow in overtime. Each team gets the right to see its first possession through its natural end, meaning that even though the clock was winding down as Kansas City drove the field, there was no chance the Chiefs would surrender the ball to the clock. It was the equivalent of the end of the first quarter, not the end of the game. Now that explains a lot. We'll get back to that. And the fact that the Chiefs won by playing more strategic and disciplined football in overtime helped to validate the new rule. Then, of course, the fact that the 49ers clearly squandered their opportunity both during regulation and in overtime. The both teams get a chance rule package is unwildly and awkward to explain, yes. But of course, until we go to a soccer-style field goal kicking or some kind of a shootout with 5 players or something like that from each team, including at least one lineman, this will have to do. Now, it's funny because when you think about what happened in this game, you say, well, was the game, and you know me, was the game compromised? Show me the money! Look, the first question that I have was the extra point, which put the 49ers up. First of all, the touchdown scored, had them up 16-13. The extra point would have made it 17-13. Unusually low trajectory on the extra point attempt. Now, I've asked a friend of the circus, who is a former San Francisco 49ers player, to be nameless, which I was with today, and I asked him, I said, hey man, isn't it just common logic that the field goal kicker would just simply pop it right over the defense's hands, right? Something, a nice high angle, maybe like a 60-degree angle, get it right over their heads, over their hands, so it can't be blocked. Yeah, and he said absolutely, unequivocally, yes. That said, that ball was kicked at a very low trajectory. As a matter of fact, one that would resemble maybe a 50 to 55-yard field goal attempt, which made it very easy to block. I wonder why that was. We'll get back to that. So now the 49ers are only up by 3 points. Now here we go to overtime. And San Francisco has the ball within the 5-yard line. If I'm not mistaken, it was 4th and 3 or something like that, all the way down to the goal line, maybe 4th and goal, and it was down to maybe the 3 or 4 yard line. All right, whatever the case. It would occur to me that San Francisco probably should have gone for it on 4th down, not forcing, giving the Chiefs the ball in good field position, so to say, but going for it. The worst case scenario is maybe they would have come up a yard or two short, thus giving Kansas City the ball in the shadow of their own goalpost, which Patrick Mahomes tends to make mistakes when he's in his own end zone, trying to throw the ball or run the ball out. So it would only seem logical that they would have done something like that, but no. Instead, let's give Kansas City the ball and let's see what they can do. And you know damn well they're going to march downfield, no less kick a field goal. I'd rather take my chances with my San Francisco defense and have them playing very aggressively against a Kansas City team when Kansas City is in their own end zone. That makes a hell of a lot more sense, folks. I think the game was fixed. Back here in just a few minutes. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. Back in a few. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more.
800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. That's 800-957-6209.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, this segment is brought to you by our friends over at Cali Strong, the California sportswear company. Check them out at cali-strong.com, cali-strong.com for great hats and hoodies and shoes and you name it, surfwear, activewear, fantastic clothing, fantastic shoes and socks. Boy, the socks, lots of great apparel at cali-strong.com. These are friends of the circus. Folks, we don't get anything for saying any of this. We're just saying it because we think the activewear is amazing and they're pretty damn cool people. And make sure you tell them the circus sent you over there to check out all the great fashion at cali-strong.com. Yes! You can also go to their flagship store over at Seaport Village in San Diego if you're so inclined. What a great store. Go see Jim. Tell Jim Sal sent you. Sal the bookmaker sent you. All right, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and, well, what else? Wow Cable Television. That's what it was. Sorry, folks. I can't help it. There's just so many of these things, right? And so also our other 206 radio stations that pick up our content from coast to coast as well, plus Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms from coast to coast. All right. So, I'm kind of thumbing through the social media stuff here in the commercial break. And I see this thing. It says right here, I can't tell you. Well, it is one of those reels on Facebook, right? So everybody on Facebook watching, you'll know what the heck this is. Everybody on social will know what this is. It says here, former NFL star claims the league is scripted. Now, I'm very interested to hear what this says. So if there's any language in here, folks, my apologies. But let's hear what it says.
Pro sports are one of the most consumed forms of entertainment. People tune in night after night to watch their favorite sports team win. What so many people love about watching sports is the intensity. You get to watch two teams giving it all they got so one can come out victorious. No one knows how the game will turn out. No one knows who would win or lose. But what if that wasn't the case? What if the outcome of these games weren't determined by skill, but instead scripted to keep the most people watching? What if pro sports were actually rigged?
Funny, before we start taping, Arian was telling me about how the NFL's rigged and how every year he uses a script. Day one of training camp that would get dropped off at his locker, and you would have to, it was like week 1 do this, week 2 you're gonna have a hamstring injury, week 3 this is gonna happen, week 3 you're gonna get 3 touchdowns, and so you just have to. Did you memorize those before the season started? Or would you go and rehearse the script before every game?
We were really dedicated to it, so it was more so like that's what practice was about. It was about practicing the script. This is what goes on, and this is what we have to do in order to.
And this referee's gonna miss this call. Because they hate you and they love the Colts.
Yeah, WWF, so it's like, we know what's going to happen, but we still got put on a show.
What did you think when you got the script in 2016 that said your career was going to fall off a cliff when you stopped believing in God?
That was 2015.
Around there.
It was 2015. And oddly enough, the script writers didn't have anything to do with that. It just had more stuff to do with they needed to change the scenery in Houston. It was time to go. Yeah, it was time to go. So they wanted to get everybody out of Houston. That was the ultimate goal. So that was what that was about.
So that was a very interesting piece. Now, that's an unofficial piece, but that was on Facebook. As a matter of fact, that interview, let me see if I could find who that interview was from. I mean, that was really interesting because all it said here was, let's see, XPFT commentator, whatever the heck that means. I don't know. I think that was actually from X on Twitter, but somebody repurposed the video. Now, that was Arian Foster going along with that discussion. Now, if you don't know who Arian Foster is, I'll give you just a brief outline about Arian Foster in case you don't know. So, Arian Foster, age 37, born in Albuquerque. He was a running back out of, he went to Tennessee between 2004 2008. Undrafted 2009, but he played with the Houston Texans from 2009 to 2015, Miami Dolphins 2016. Now, mind you, he claimed, apparently, that it was scripted. Yes, it was scripted. I mean, I have a hard time understanding this one, but I say, all right, let's listen to this again because I don't know if I heard it right.
Pro sports are one of the most consumed forms of entertainment. People tune in.
This is crazy. This is a first-team All-Pro 2010, second-team All-Pro 2011, four-time Pro Bowler, two-time rushing touchdown leader, and NFL rushing yard leader. This is crazy. This is Arian Foster that's answering the questions after this little part. Listen.
Arian was telling me about how the NFL's rigged and how every year he uses a script. Day one of training camp, that would get dropped off at his locker, and you would have to, it was like week 1 do this, week 2 you're gonna have hamstring injury, 3 this is gonna happen, week 4 you're gonna get 3 touchdowns, and so you just have to. Did you memorize those before the season started? Or would you go and rehearse the script before every game?
We were really dedicated to it, so it was so like that's what practice was about. It was about practicing the script. This is what goes on, and this is what we have to do in order to.
And this referee's gonna miss this call. Because they hate you and they love the Colts.
Yeah, WWF, so it's like, we know what's going to happen, but we still got put on a show.
What did you think when you got the script in 2016 that your career was going to fall off a cliff when you stopped believing in God?
That was 2015.
Around there.
It was 2015. And oddly enough, the script writers didn't have anything to do with that. It just had more so to do with they needed to change the scenery in Houston. It was time to go? Yeah, it was time to go. So they wanted to get everybody out of Houston. That was the ultimate goal. So that was what that was about.
So I'm having a hard time with this one because here, now you've got a guy that played in the league recently, well, I say recently, a handful of years ago, saying all this scripted. And I had said in the last segment, before the segment ended, I felt that the game was scripted. And so that was the last thing I said before we're going to break, et cetera, et cetera. And I just ran across this reel on social media. I don't know how real it is, but I mean, it was Arian Foster talking. And it was, I mean, come on, this is a Pro Bowl, or an All-Pro, mind you. All-Pro is more important than the Pro Bowler. He's an All-Pro running back. So to me, that kind of makes me scratch my head. I mean, look, this guy is no slouch. I mean, we're talking 1,476 rushing attempts, 6,527 rushing yards, 54 touchdowns, 255 receptions, 2,346 receiving yards, and 14 receiving touchdowns. I mean, this guy was pretty damn good. But what I'm wondering is this legit? I mean, there's going to be a lot more that's going to come out about this, but Arian Foster, I'm sure a lot of people are probably wanting to ask you questions about this. This is unofficial, folks, but it's a video that I just saw, and it was an reel repurposed on Facebook by somebody else so they can go get a whole bunch of likes and follows and all this other garbage. But it doesn't seem like that was compromised. I mean, that seemed like a genuine conversation. Folks, you'll have to check that out for yourself. Again, I just happened to see it, and I was like, wow, I'm going to share it with everybody here. But you know what is not scripted is what happens when a player needs to go to the toilet maybe during the Super Bowl, right? Now, by the Irish Star, this is interesting. Can an NFL player go to the toilet during the Super Bowl? For example, the last one, right? Formula One drivers often admit peeing in their race suits, and players have been seen running off the pitch for a quick toilet break. But for what about NFL stars playing in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of fans at the Super Bowl and millions watching worldwide? People are curious about what happens when NFL stars need to use the toilet, but may not have the availability to go run during the game. So, I mean, look, like all athletes, NFL players drink a lot of fluids and stay hydrated during the games. So it's likely that some might need the bathroom break during long games. So can NFL players use the toilet during a Super Bowl? Well, the NFL hasn't banned toilet breaks, but you don't often see players leaving the field to relieve themselves. Now, this is crazy, but halftime trip to the changing room is probably their best chance. Other than that, you're really in trouble. NFL players have been known to pee in their pants in a cup behind the bench or on the sidelines, hidden by towels, if you know what I mean. Now, as a matter of fact, ex-Miami Dolphins star Channing Crowder used to pee in his pants because no one would notice it from a distance. And he even told the four-letter network, quote, I would just be in the huddle, just pee like you wouldn't even know. Nobody in the stands would ever know unless you look down. That's not water, man. Close quote. Now, Carolina Panthers' Ryan Khalil shared that players often avoided leaving the field for toilet breaks. He said, quote, Guys are peeing all over the sidelines in every game, into cups on the ground, and towels behind the benches, in their pants, everywhere. Close quote. Oh, that's nasty. In fact, back in 2017, former Eagles player Dexter McDougal used a simple method for privacy. He had the team staff hold towels around him while he actually relieved himself. In fact, Raiders' Josh McDaniels and quarterback Derek Carr had a lighthearted chat last year about needing a bathroom break during a game. Jacobs told Carr, "Hey man, I'm not going to do it." And Carr replied, urging him not to wet his pants on the field. Jacobs agreed, saying, "I'm not going to do it. That'll be bad for business," if you know what I mean. This is ridiculous. But folks, these are legitimate questions. You know, in the biggest game in North America for television, etc., this is it. All eyes are on you and everybody that's, if you're out there playing, this is it. Millions and millions. I guess they had, 125 million people watch the game. Imagine if they see stuff running down your leg and they know it's not water. Anyway, folks, back here with Major League Baseball. When we come back here on the Circus, lots more to come.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people, but when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize, there's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about a congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products that don't do what they represent to do?
There's a smash to Squires. He's got it. 1, 2, 3, nothing across. We're going to the bottom of the 7th now to score. All tied up. Milwaukee 4, the White Sox 4. Hey! Everybody! All right, Nancy, let me hear you. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ground. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back for its root for the White Sox. If they don't win, it's a shame. Or it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. And it is. Holy cow. This crowd is wild.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Al Bubba Baker, quarterback breaker and the rib maker.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. AMP TV stands for All Ages Media Programming Television. Folks, if you're looking to maybe produce your own podcast or get your own show out there, well, guess what? AMP TV does exactly that for you. They actually handle everything from full pre-production, broadcast, post-production, editing, and distribution. Maybe you want to get that podcast out to the real world, just like this one here. This show goes out for television and radio. And look, a podcast is just that. The problem is with podcasts, folks, you have to go find them. On a regular real radio or television show, those shows are actually carried on a regular schedule, just like this one here. For example, if you're in Atlanta, you can hear this 8 a.m. Monday through Friday on WDJY like clockwork. We're there every Monday through Friday. Of course, nice round of applause for WDJY, always giving them extra plugs because we can. Or over in Atlanta, or better yet in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, you can catch us at 8 p.m. on 12:30 a.m. home of those Atlanta Braves. Yes! There's War Eagle. So the point is, folks, if you are a podcast and you want to get yourself out there to the real world for radio and or television, contact AmpTV, AAMP.TV. You can actually hit up customer service at info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv. All right, the big welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know who you are. And we're going to jump right into college basketball real quick before we talk about Major League Baseball. And of course, we have to mention the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Of course, being over there on Raider Radio, carried over there, let's face it, the Red Raiders just did a big destruction number on the number 6 Jayhawks, dropping 79 on number 6 ranked Kansas, while Kansas only scored 50 points. That's ridiculous. All right. Now, ranked number 1, not really sure how they still are ranked number 1, but they're a solid club. Now, UConn holds on to the number 1 slot. They're just literally a handful of points ahead of number 1 ranked Purdue, who made very quick work of Indiana at Bloomington, dropping them, well, let's face it, 79 to 59. Holding Indiana to 59 at home is a very nice win. But now UConn, number 1, held Georgetown to 64 at home. But Purdue is the better club between the two, and they should be the number 1 team. Hell, they've beaten everybody that matters at this point, with the exception of UConn, who they just haven't played head-to-head. Both teams are 22-2. Purdue is clearly the better team. Nonetheless, number 3 ranked Houston, the Houston Cougars, go up 2 spots with their recent win over Cincinnati, 67-62. Next up for them is Texas. Marquette, number 4. They're starting to surge. Marquette is number 4. They jumped up 3 slots. They're 18-5. Of course, one of those losses came to those Purdue Boilermakers. They recently beat St. John's over in New York, 86-75. Next up is Butler. Arizona, number 5, another victim of Purdue. They jumped up 3 with their win recently, 99-79 at Boulder. Next up, ASU. Number 6, Kansas. We already talked about. Next up for them is Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Number 7, North Carolina, dropped 4 slots. Next up, Syracuse. Number 8, Tennessee, got themselves a terrible loss at Texas A&M. They lose by, 16 on the road. Next up is Arkansas for them, and they just keep tumbling. Duke is number 9. A nice win at Wake Forest, 77-69. Next up for them is Florida State down in Tallahassee. Number 10, Iowa State, 18-5, jumped up 4 slots. They've got themselves a nice win at Texas Christian. Next up is at Cincinnati. South Carolina jumped up 4 slots as well at 21-3. A nice win at Vanderbilt. Up next, very tough territory in Auburn, Alabama, against those Auburn Tigers, and that is no easy task over there. Auburn is playing very good basketball. Baylor, number 12, jumped up 1 slot at 17-6. Of course, they will probably drop down in the next rankings. Up next for them is, they've got themselves a game today, and that is against Oklahoma. Auburn, as we just mentioned, they dropped one slot. They're 19-5, and of course, they've got next up is South Carolina on Wednesday, Valentine's Day. Illinois dropped 4 slots with a loss that they probably should never have lost. Anyway, that was Michigan State. Up next is Michigan today. Alabama 15, 17-7. They scored 109 at LSU, but then again, not a lot of defense played in that game. Next up is Texas A&M on Saturday. The Dayton Flyers, a very good squad. Those guys are up to number 16, 19-4 overall, and they have Duquesne next. 17, the Creighton Blue Jays at 17-7. Up next, Georgetown. St. Mary's stayed the same at number 18. Up next, Pepperdine. Brigham Young up 2 slots at 17-6 to number 19. Up next is Central Florida. Wisconsin dropped 9 slots with a terrible loss over at Rutgers, 78-56. Up next is Ohio State. That should be a cakewalk. And, of course, Virginia at 21 remained unchanged. Up next is Pitt. Kentucky dropped 5 slots with a loss at Gonzaga. Gonzaga, another victim of Purdue. And they have next Mississippi, Ole Miss, and that's today. Indiana State. Indiana State is in the rankings at number 23. They stayed unchanged. Up next is Illinois State. Florida Atlantic dropped 4, and they have Temple next. And rounding out the top 25 is Oklahoma. They are at Baylor today. All right, so now that we covered college basketball, let's get into some baseball here. Pitchers and catchers have reported, yes, and a nice round of applause, because baseball is right around the horizon. Yes! And we have some projected rosters here real quick, and that is from MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Starting with the Blue Jays, their projected lineup is Springer, Bichette, Vladdy, Justin Turner hitting cleanup, Schneider, Jansen, Dalton Varsho, number 7, IKF playing third base, came over from the Yankees, and Kiermaier at center field. Not a bad lineup here. These guys are pretty good. Rotation looks like Gossman, Berrios, Bassett, Kikuchi, and Manoah. Couple of questionable guys in there. If those guys are, if they are dealing, these guys are going to be very tough to beat. Over in Baltimore, of course, they had the Rookie of the Year, Gunnar Henderson, Rutschman, Santander, Mountcastle, O'Hearn, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, Jackson Holliday, and Jordan Westberg. Not a bad starting lineup. Of course, if Holliday, that's basically Major League Baseball Pipeline's number 1 overall prospect, makes the team, it's a very strong possibility then that 20-year-old could see a good bit of playing time at second base. And if he doesn't, Westberg could play more second, and versatile infielder Urias would get more starts. In the rotation, Corbin Burns, Bradish, Rodriguez, Means, and Creamer. They'll probably make another deal, I'm guessing. Now, over in Tampa, their lineup looks like Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lowe, Arozarena, Josh Lowe, Paredes, Ramirez, Siri, Caballero, and Pinto. In the rotation, looks like it's Eflin, Savali, Littell, Pipiot, and Bradley. Not really sure about that team. I don't know. I think they're in the middle of the pack in the East. Over in Boston, it is... Their lineup looks like Duran, Devers, Story, Casas, Yoshida, O'Neill, Abreu, Grissom, and Wong. A very mediocre lineup for the Boston Red Sox. Their starting rotation looks like Bello, Lucas Giolito in his 3rd team in 2 years, Pavetta, Crawford, and Whitlock. I think these guys are going to be towards the bottom of the division. And the Yankees, their lineup looks like leading off will be LeMahieu, Soto, Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, Torres, Verdugo, Stanton. Surprised they held on to Stanton. Volpe and Trevino. Pretty good lineup right there. Starting rotation, of course, with Cole, Rodon, and Stroman, and Cortez. Pretty good top 4 with Clark Schmidt as their 5th. But the Yankees look like they could be tough. Over in the Central, the Guardians lead off with Quan, arguably, in my opinion, the best leadoff hitter in baseball. Jimenez, Ramirez, Naylor, of course, Josh Naylor, Bo Naylor at 4 and 5. One at first base, one's the catcher. Will Brennan, Laureano, Miles Straw, very, very speedy Miles Straw, and Arias. It's a very good lineup. Those guys are going to steal a lot of bases, too. The rotation looks like Bieber, McKenzie, Williams, Bibby, and Allen. Questionable starting rotation. They'll be probably second in that division. The Royals Their lineup looks like Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr., fresh off that $288 million deal, whatever it was. Pasquantino, Salvi Perez, Melendez, Renfroe, Massey, Velasquez, Isbell that's their lineup. Their starting rotation is Lugo, Waka. Can't believe Michael Waka's still around. Reagans, Singer, and Lyles. They need some work done in the rotation. The Tigers, a up-and-coming Tigers team, their actual opening day lineup could look like Verling, Riley Green, a very good one, Riley Green, Torkelson, Carpenter, Kana, Javi Baez, who knows what's going on with that guy, Colt Keith, Jake Rogers, and Parker Meadows. Sort of a questionable, but their pitching is pretty good with Skubal, Maeda, Flaherty, Mize, and Olsen. The rotation is going to keep them in the games. The Twinkies look like, in their starting lineup, Julian, Correa, Lewis, Kepler, Buxton, Kirilloff, Santana, Wallner, and Jeffers. They may repeat if the rotation of Lopez, Ryan, Ober, Paddock, and Descalfani end up doing what they do, because those guys are pretty damn good. They're probably the best team. Now, my beloved White Sox are on the toilet right now. They've got some good guys in the lineup, but who knows what's going to happen there. They're leading off with Benintendi. Moncada may have a bounce-back year. One of the best players in baseball, Luis Robert Jr., at center field. Eloy Jimenez, if he could stay healthy, is one hell of a DH. Andrew Vaughn's a very solid first baseman. Here's where it gets a little bit crazy with Fletcher, DeYoung, Nicky Lopez, a local product from Chicagoland, and Martin Maldonado. Good backstop, but a terrible hitter. Rotation, Dylan Cease, Michael Kopech, that's good and good. But then you've got Fetty, Soroka, and Flexon, which I'm not sure about. Those guys may win 70 games. And over in the West, real quick, you've got for the Angels, Rengifo, Trout, Drury, Rendon, Ward, Mickey Moniak, good player right there. Ohapi, very good player. Shawnell and Nito in the lineup. In the rotation, Sandoval, Detmers, Silseth, Anderson, and Canning. Those guys could be near the toilet. The Astros look like the odds-on favorite again with Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Abreu, Kyle Tucker, underrated guy, Diaz, McCormick, Pena, and Myers in the lineup. Rotation, Verlander, Valdez, Javier, Urquidy, and Brown. Those guys are going to be tough. The A's, which soon to be the Las Vegas A's, Noda, Geloff, Rooker, Brown, Langoliers, very good catcher, switch-hitting catcher, Blide, Diaz, Nick Allen, and Butler in the lineup. And the rotation looks like Blackburn, Sears, Stripling, Wood, and Boyle. Mariners, Julio Rodriguez hitting second. Good stuff. Polanco moves over there from Minnesota, third. Mitch Garver over from Texas, fourth. Cal Raleigh. And looking at the rotation, they look pretty solid. And the world champion Rangers look really solid. Those guys are likely going to win the American League again and possibly the World Series again. We'll see what happens here. But, folks, we're out of time. We'll do the National League maybe tomorrow. Thanks for joining us here on the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you in about 23 hours on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196. Paid for by Legal Alert Line.